Cool. This looks very good. Recording has started. That sounds perfect. Participants joining, that's good too. So let's give it another 30 seconds before we start. And yeah. Good. Perfect. So let's get started. Recording is started. Hello all together. My name is Martin. I'm welcoming today the LSPs, former colleagues and peers to join us today on the webinar on leverage your data to outperform the competition. And today with me is Mac, our data scientist, who will guide us through the magic of Cargobase and what to do with data and what data is available. So I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, Mac, the stage is yours. Looking forward to all the fantastic insights Cargobase can provide.
Thank you, Martin, and welcome to everybody that has joined the webinar today. So let me quickly introduce myself. So as Martin mentioned, I'm the data scientist here at Cargobase. And since I've joined a couple months back, we've been working quite hard to get more insights to both our shippers and our LSPs that are using our platform. But today we'll talk more about what kind of insights LSPs can get from the platform and how they can actually go from identifying the KPIs they want to focus on to actually getting qualified insights and actionable progress as well. So let's start with the de facto agenda of today, which the presentation will be built around. So we'll first look at how to identify the KPIs you want to work on, to see how you can actually win more business. Then we'll have a look at how actually will you get the right measurement and definitions of those measurements. Then after that, we actually will look into how to extract that data that you are measuring and create and visualize what you want to action on. And lastly, we actually will look at how we can use the analysis that we have done to support a plan of action and to implement that as well. So these last three stages of measure, analyze, and execute, the idea is to repeat those over and over again. So you're actually working on a continuous basis to improve your execution. So we start first with identifying the key indicators. And in this case, we'll talk mostly about winning more business in terms of invitations and quotations. So we've identified these four areas that we can see in Cargobase, which is service, price, reliability, and timing. And I think one thing to note also in Cargobase that we see is that price is an important factor, but a lot more indicators can be used to win more business. So we do have some kind of indicators that we feel work well with trying to win more business. So we have, for example, your quote response time, your availability of routings, quotation percentage, accuracy of updates. For price, of course, we have lowest price, we have best price quality, and then we have pricing accuracy. We have, for reliability, the timing of the pickup and the on-time delivery and on-time pickup, the handling of the goods that are being shipped, as well as the matching of the quotation with the actual invoice in the end. And lastly, of course, the timing. So how quick can you deliver? Do your timings align with what the shipper is requesting? Are you the earliest pickup or the earliest delivery? So all those factors will be considered when winning your business or when quoting your business. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the technical stuff that's happening in the backend for Cargobase. So we have our raw data, starting out with the raw data. From there, we make a more structured way of organizing it And in the end, what we want to actually have is the access to the data as well, to as many people as are required to have that information. So I've dotted here down some examples from Cargo-based. So what we have, for example, is external tracking information. We have the quotation documents that are unstructured data. We have Cargo-based back-end system information as well as front-end, which all come together. And from there, we create the measures that can be deemed as the KPIs of both the shippers and LSPs. We do the documentation, and we curate those at a daily basis and store them. And lastly, we have the accessibility on our platform. So you're all probably familiar that we have the extracts from Excel, but we also will provide in the future the API connectivity, as well as the platform that we'll showcase a little bit later in this presentation. Now, I feel like I've been talking a lot as well so far. So maybe it's good to mention that the Q&A is open, so you can ask questions along the way. So please do. And Martin will be able to stop me sometimes, and then we have some chance to answer some questions. So Martin, do we have any questions so far?
Indeed, yes, we have already one. It's about like the slide you showed before, like whether these information is all gathered on the platform. Literally every data input into Cargo-based, it has a timestamp. So everything which is on the platform available can be measured. Some customers are utilizing it more, some customers don't, but what they are all doing is like they are comparing the data between different LSPs and learning, okay, is my LSP set the best in place? May it be in response time, may it be in pricing, may it be in uploading of documents and stuff like that. These data is available and is measured. So yes, it makes a difference. And yeah, it helps, I think, both sides to have insights in this data.
Yeah, so actually, yeah, chiming on to that. So today I was looking at some of the quotations for an air freight shipment. And some of the LSPs, for example, don't really provide the airline as well. So you have maybe 10 quotes of which only half provide the airline the number that they're flying with. So that can also be a good indicator of why your quotes, if you don't provide the airline number or their flight number rather, your quotes won't be accepted there. Okay, Martin, I'll move on to the next one, which I think is where it gets quite interesting. So these are actually the dashboards that we have created, or at least a few of them, for the LSPs. So we have the overview and missed revenues. We have operation analysis. We have the invitation performance, as well as the quotation ranking. Now we'll go through these dashboards individually to kind of show you what metrics and dimensions we can pull together. I do have to tell you that this, of course, is mock data, so it's not the live data of any of you or any of our other customers. But it's just to take in mind that it's not the actual data. So if you see like win rates that are 100%, of course, that's not the actual data that is there. So we'll go first into the first visualization here, which is the main dashboard that we provide. This will show you your invitation to quote ratio, your quotation to win ratio, all your won quotes and why you have won them. So these are all the reasons that the Cargo-based platform provides of why you're winning quotes. It provides you the total GMV of your won quotes, as well as the GMV of the quotes that you have missed out on. And you can actually sort by Incoterm, freight mode, pickup country, booking location, shipper, and I think this is team name. So what is nice to note here is that you actually can see how much GMV you've missed out on per shipper. So because this is a demo account, there's only 2 shippers, of which one is the bigger one. But you can imagine if you have multiple shippers, you can see exactly which shippers you're missing out the most revenue on. And you can also identify them here and look just at that shipper. So what we have over here is the above 2 ratios that we can see. So your quotation invitation to quote and your quotation to win ratio over time. So in this case, we can see that the win ratio is trending up. However, in the last few months, the quotation ratio is dipping quite a bit. This shows your GMV over time. And there's been some shippers that ask me, oh, I don't want to see GMV. I want to see total TEUs or total weight that I've shipped or total CBM, for example. That's also available in the platform. So we can also provide the trend of those volumes as well. And lastly, here we have your POD completion ratio over time, which is reflected here. This is the breakdown of all the shipments that you have won and the details. So you can see here, I'm not sure if it's too sharp already, but it's the GMV, it's your freight mode, it's your time of pickup, time of drop-off, delay reason. So all the dimensions you can imagine will be there.
Let me just, the beauty of this is like on the one hand side, you get an overview, but on the other hand, you have even on the drop down menus or like the lines on the bottom, you have the possibility to directly zoom into and see what can be reasons for that. There is a link provided if and on that dashboard, if you scroll more to the right, there is a link directly to the shipment, so that this is not a theoretical discussion. It's an overall view with the ability to really zoom in and to understand, learn, and like also explain why things are changing and also sensing change also in a certain time frame.
Yeah, so yeah, like I mentioned, if you filter, for example, here, this table will change as well. And what you can also quite easily do is download this CSV as well. So you have the information in an Excel file as well. Although we probably recommend not using too many Excel files, but there's still that possibility if you still work a lot with those. So next up is our operational overview. So this delves more into the shipments that you are doing. And this is what, like Martin mentioned in the start, the POD ratios that can be quite important for the companies as well, for the shippers as well. So you see here all your shipments, then the shipments without the PODs. We have the shipments with PODs, your on-time performance, your POD completion rate, as well as your tracking rate. So Cargobase integrates with a lot of carriers and LSPs to provide automated updates, but sometimes they're still manual. So then the tracking rate becomes quite interesting as well, or maybe the tracking number is not entered properly. But using the filtering that's also available here, you can quite easily see which ones are not being tracked, which ones don't have the PODs. And like Martin said, there's a link to the platform here, and you can straight away comment or upload the POD there as well. So it really also helps in your operational performance, which I think is quite valuable to the shippers as well.
Just a question in between. Where you have these data from? Well, from the platform, but how do you know what the potential of a request on the GMV, on the missed GMV? How do we like make this data visible?
Yeah, so this goes back to the first dashboards that we had. So we actually look at the one GMV of the other shipper that instead of you won the bid. So I do have to say here that we won't show exactly the amount that it is, because we're not in the business of driving the prices down specifically for the LSPs, but we still want to have that open bidding. But we will actually say on the aggregated level what the total volume is of that amount.
So it will not be indicated per shipment what has been the missed GMV. It is about like the overall missed GMV on an aggregated level.
Correct. That is correct. Yes. So we don't show the exact amount. All right. So I hope I answered that question. So we can go to the next slide. So this is where we actually look into a bit more of the invitation performance. Rather, how many times you have been invited, how many times you did participate, and the outcome of that. And then we have your not participated invitations, which are broken down by new, no quote submitted, opened but not quoted. So you have a lot of different statuses that are there. Again, you see here the filters that are available. So you can, for example, we didn't put it in here, but you can say, okay, I want to see all the shipment or all the invitations for requests that I didn't participate in. And then we'll list down here all the specific shipments that were there. You can go link to the platform and see why you might not have bid on that one. But you can also do a bit more analysis there as well. So what we see over here is the ratios that I think you should be monitoring quite closely, which is the invited to quote ratio, the quote to win rate, of course, and then the invitation to win ratio. So for these, again, you can filter on a lot of different dimensions. So country, payment location, shipper, freight mode, time of day of the quote. So there's a lot of different elements that we can, with this platform, allow you to filter and dissect your performance on. So I think that is quite powerful to kind of look where you're lacking in performance. And then already we're at the final visualizations that we're going to show today, which is your quotation ranking. And this is the part where I think it's very interesting to see how you are performing in terms of your quotations itself. So we're not looking just at the invitation and whether you're participating or not. We're actually looking at, based on the request of the shipper, how well are you performing? So we have here your price ranking. So on the left-hand side here is for all your quotes that you have done, and then your distribution. So you see in this specific case, this dashboard or this demo shipper ranks quite good in price. And all the quotations it's winning, it's also ranking high in price. So we have here the left-hand side is the total quotation. So 1,400, about 600 we've actually won in this case, about 5% with one shipper, about 95 with the other. And this is the GMV. But you can here see why you've technically won that bid. So the second ranking we have here is submission time. So this is measuring the time you take to submit compared to the other people that are quoting on that specific shipment. Apart from these two, we have 4 more. One being earliest delivery ranking, one being quickest shipping time ranking, and the last 2 is how close you are to the requested pickup time and drop-off time that shipper has specified. Now, these are still in this dashboard, they're static, and they're aggregated. But you can imagine that with the data on a more granular level, you can actually show a very good comparison between why you are winning quotes in certain cases and why you have lost certain bids, because maybe you're not ranking well on price, but you're also not ranking good on the time or the delivery or the pickup. So that can go a long way in explaining why you're not winning the business, and you can actually have a dedicated action to improve on that. Now I stop again, Martin, to see if there's more questions. Let me know if there is. If not, we can go to the final part of the presentation.
I think we get to the final part, to destination, and the 2 questions I just received, which are a bit more complex to answer. That's why
okay.
I want to keep them aside and answer them separately.
Yeah. So we will have time at the end to answer 1 or 2 more questions, definitely. So let me go to the next one. So I think this is something that is oftentimes overlooked in terms of thinking about data. So once you have the data and the insights, you still need to make an actionable plan that can help you improve on what you have found. So I just put here down 3 simple steps that you can follow. So one is the storytelling with data. So presenting the right insight, then defining the right objectives, and then has also the visibility on the metrics. So I've put down a little bit of explanation here. So the narrative is important, the visual is important, the context and the relevance of why it is important as well. Then we need the focus, the measurement, and the alignment, as well as the accountability. And lastly, we need to have a set interval of reporting, and we have the transparency of what's happening at the running basis. So we'll go into a little bit detail of each of these steps and give a kind of an example of what you can imagine. So in this case, we have increased in recent time our quotation ratio. However, we see that our invitation to win ratio is going down. So we have this visualization. So the invites actually remain the same over time. And you can see our quotes increased from about 30% quotation to about 50%. But the main issue in this case is our drop from the win rate. So our invite to win is at 15% before, and it dropped down to 12%. Now, there can be a lot of different reasons why this is the case. So if you can see something like this, you probably need to investigate what is going on. So you can also think about what is the potential that we're looking at, right? So there's 1,000 invitations, there's a dollar amount over there, and we're winning now at the moment only 120 of those potential dollars that we can win. And also, we might think that we're not quoting the right solution to the customer. So what will be the action plan? So assume that we did some digging and we found out some of the potential reasons that the ratio is dropping. We want to set the target to go back to that 15%. We want to do it within 3 months, and then we'll have one person responsible for this project, which I think is key in this case. And in this case, it will be me. So I'll be the one responsible for the project. So then we have the questions of what we can improve. So we did do some digging, of course, in this example, so we can try to better understand the customer needs, identify our quotation strengths, and also speed up the process of the quotation as well. Now, how then will we measure that? So we can look at the selection reason ratios. So why we get selected for quotes. We can look at our quote to win ratio, as well as our time to quote. And then the responsibility is this one, it will be me. And we have already defined our timeline and our goal.
Maybe adding to that, this is just like a suggestion from our side how to deal with that data, and this is how we had been successful with projects at our customers, like the shippers, and to like change their objective is a bit of a different thing. Sure, they want to receive more quotes, they want to have like a better competition and stuff like that. What Cargo-Base provides and the value that we are bringing to the table is like all the measurement that enables you to see changes and to look into a certain time frame whether things are changing with different teams, different setups. And this is like, yeah, our value that we are bringing here. And this is like what Mac is outlining here. Clear objective helps in every way, because if you're not measuring it something against something, then there is no change. Nevertheless, this is the data which we are able to provide and to draw conclusions from.
Yeah. So let's go to the final step of this mock exercise that we're doing. So the last thing that's important is the visibility, and the visibility as well as the frequency at which it's being shared. So there's 2 key elements here. So in this case, what we would do is, for example, we have live dashboards, but we also provide a weekly summary report, because dashboards are nice to check once in a while, but if there's no set interval that people are looking at the data, it might get lost in the bigger picture. So the interval here is important, and also the accessibility. So the people that are the stakeholders in the project, as well as the PIC, need to be aware of the progress of the project in this case, or the action. All right, so I'll go now to the recap of what we talked about today. So we have talked about identifying the KPIs that will help you win more business, how actually Cargo-Base helps to measure those and put them into the right kind of way for you to analyze. and also visualize it at the same time to actually identify and slice and dice at different dimensions that will then give you those insights. And lastly, we give a short example of how to execute on such a project, where I also need to mention that the visibility is one of the keys here. And yeah, so I think in the long run, you want to keep on repeating this process, but you do need that data access to actually move forward. Now, the last thing I want to share is a little bit of a bonus. So we're not really yet completed with this project of ours, but we have received a lot of feedback from a lot of the shippers that there's quite a lot of manual work involved in uploading the quotes from your own system to the cargo-based system. So I think within the new UI that's also coming out for the LSPs in the future, this will already be simplified, but we also will add an OCR for the quotations and later also for the invoicing. So we actually will allow you to upload your quotation documents, and we will populate from there the information into the quotation for cargo base, which will reduce the manual effort of uploading quotes, which is about 15 minutes on average, to under a minute potentially. So apart from this, we're also working to integrate with APIs where possible, but not everybody has a big team or the systems are ready to integrate. So that's where we actually come up with a solution like this to make your lives also a bit easier in the future. So that is the end of the presentation for today. So I want to invite you all to follow us on LinkedIn if you haven't done so already. Also for future webinars that will talk about product launches, but also data related topics. And if you're interested to know more about some of the solutions we talked about today, you can contact me at Cargobase with my email here, mac@cargobase.com. And yeah, I'll try to respond to any of your questions. Martin, you have some
Yes.
questions or not?
Yeah, the question is like a bit of a longer one. Nevertheless, it's about like the invitations and how like measurement is done around the invitation. So first of all, how you get invited by the shipper. The shipper is either pre-selecting or the purchasing or like whomsoever at the customer decides you are on board. Does not necessarily mean that you get invited to every operation. It can be that they give a default of 4 to 6 to 8 LSPs per freight mode, but they select based on the freight mode if you are chosen as a default or if you are just a backup solution. If you don't receive that many invitations, most of the time you most likely will be a backup solution. This is something where you can send your sales out and make you more on default and trying to explain that to the shipper side to get on that default list per freight mode, but also consider if you're offering only air freight or you only receive air freight requests, you really can get into also other freight modes. If you are set for onboard couriers, but you don't see air charter operations, you're getting invited, ask your sales to get or like reach out to the customer to find it out. So the question now is, how will the system recognize if we had not been invited? So like missed potential due to lack of invitation. How do we measure that, Mac?
Yeah, so for our analytics solutions, we won't be able to provide you that information because we only allow to give you the information of the shipments that you're invited to, right? So we cannot potentially give you that information to see, okay, you have not been invited for the shipper that you are servicing for 10% of the time, right? So we don't have actually the opportunity for us to give that data to you, which I think is quite logical as well. But like Martin also mentioned, is that the shippers work with a supplier pool that they have onboarded. And if you're part of that pool, you'll not necessarily be invited to every shipment request that they do. But one of the things that we do allow with the solutions that we give is that if you're doing well on the POD delivery, if you're doing well on the tracking, and if you're doing delivery on time, you can actually go with your statistics to that shipper. So you can use your performance to say, okay, actually we're in the top performance of these lanes or these areas. And actually, Martin, I was forgetting about what we're trying to do as well in terms of the rankings that we will provide to the LSPs as well at the later stage for the different shippers. So we actually will tell you if you're in the top 5, 10, 15% of certain measurements that we'll be doing.
So the benchmarking will be more easy, and it's also like a communication between operations, sales, and management, always like, where do we stand with our solution at our customers, giving you a more valuable possibility to fight for new solutions, or to really say, okay, you are already in the top 5%, you're doing very well on this, but not on that. That time is good invested, also looking at the requests and the possibility and opportunities compared to the competition.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, we do not, and this is what Mac outlined before, we do not want to be the drivers of a downforce of like minimizing costs and getting it down. Yes, it should be efficient, but every good service has its price. So this is where we like believe that good service should be paid for. Nevertheless, it must be reasonable in every direction, and we don't see us like in the driver's seat for driving down costs. We are in the driver's seat for driving up competition, for the best solution, for the best market fit for our customers. We believe that, yeah, happy LSPs support happy customers. So thank you for joining in today. Thanks, Mac, for sharing the insights. If you're curious, if you have questions, if you want to know more, please just reach out to us, be it Mac in this case, be it me. My email address, super easy. It's like same like Mac, just martin@cargobase.com. And it's not mandatory to carry an M as the first letter of your first name to join us. Nevertheless, reach out, get ship done, have fun, and thanks for being part of the Cargobase family. Thanks for joining in today. Have a great day.